Hello everybody, welcome to another CSGO editing tutorial. In this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to set up Reshade with HLE. Now, this is actually going to be an updated version of my previous ones, since in the newer versions of Reshade there are some slight differences. This is going to be the final tutorial for Reshade, because I don't really want to keep making new tutorials every time Reshade updates. So if there is a change within Reshade, please read the description, as I will be keeping that up to date. Alright, so to begin with, we're just going to download HLE. So head over to advancedeffects.org and download the latest version of HLE. It'll be in the green box. Just click the link, and I suggest downloading the setup.exe. You'll have less issues with it. Head over to Reshade ME, click the download button, and just download the latest version of Reshade. At the time of recording, it's 4.8.2. Once you have that downloaded, head over to this GitHub page. Make sure you click the master download link over here rather than the zip up here, as you get the slim pack rather than the master pack. Now, I also recommend downloading the Quint shaders. Just click download zip up here. And if you want ray tracing in your Reshade, you need to head over to Pascal Glitch's Patreon and join the $5 per month tier on his page. You just have to do the 1 month that you can download it. You don't have to continue paying for it. Alright, so once you have everything downloaded, you can move everything into a location that's easy to access. I'm just going to use my desktop as an example, and I'm going to create a new folder to place everything in. So I'm just going to call this Reshade, and I'm just going to drag and drop everything into that folder, like so. Alright, so once you're in the folder, just open up the Reshade setup, hold Control on your keyboard, and just click the button, like so. You should get 2 DLL files and 2 JSON folders, like so. I'm just going to delete the setup, open up the Reshade Shaders Master, open that folder again, and then drag and drop the Shaders and Textures folder, like so. Again, you can delete the zip, and same with the Quint Masters, just drag and drop the shaders, like so. Once you have all that done, you can go ahead and open up HLE. I recommend checking yes. Go to Tools, Developer, Custom Loader. For program path, we need to select CSGO. So click Browse, and head over to wherever you have your game installed. So I have mine on my E drive in the Programs, Steam, Library, CMapps, Common, CSGO. Just select csgo.exe and press Open. For command line, we can go ahead and enter a custom resolution if you wish to do so. So I'm going to do 1920 by 810. Then for DLLs to inject, click Browse, and we need to select AFX hook source.dll. This will be in the HLE folder. And now we need to inject Reshade into HLE, so select reshade32.dll, drag and drop that in as well. Now, if you have an NVIDIA card, you can skip this step, but if you have an AMD card like I do, you need to do this. So head over to your local disk, go to Windows, search for System32 down here, and then look for d3d9.dll. So it will be up here. So what you do is look for d3d9.dll and drag and drop that in as well. That is only if you have an AMD card. Alright, once you have everything set up in HLE, just press OK and CSGO will launch. Alright, so once you're in CSGO, you should see at the top of your screen, Reshade is now installed successfully. You can go ahead and close the console. If you have this Valve anti-cheat notification pop up, that means HLE is working. Just press OK. Go to your video settings and scroll down until you see the multi-sampling anti-aliasing mode. Make sure that is set to none, and set the FXA anti-aliasing to disabled as well. Otherwise, Reshade won't work properly. Then you can press home on your keyboard to bring up the Reshade UI. Just press continue, 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 and finish. And we'll be setting it up in a second. Go ahead and press Shift F2 on your keyboard to load up a demo. Alright, once you load it up into your demo, you can go ahead and open on the console. I'm just going to type clear and exec your movie making config if you have one, like so. You can then use the command demo underscore go to tick and to skip to the tick of the frag. Alright, now that I'm at the frag, I'm just going to type cl underscore draw depth notice is only 1. That way it gets rid of the HUD, like so. And now what we need to do is actually set up a bind for the VGUI toggle. The commands will be on screen now. You can just copy and paste this into your movie making config. You can set the bind to whatever you want. I use F8 simply because it's easy for me to remember. And basically when you press it, your crosshair will disappear. And if you press it again, your crosshair will reappear. If your crosshair has disappeared, you can't open the console. As you can hear, I'm pressing the key right now and nothing is happening. Same with the demo UI, it can't open. When you re-enable it, you can reopen the console and demo UI. For reshade to work, we need to have it disabled like so. Go ahead and press home on your keyboard to bring up the reshade UI. Head over to settings. You can set a bunch of binds for whatever you want. So for the overlay key, I like to set this to F11. Simply because that's what I'm used to. And for the effects toggle, I like to set this to F12. Yeah. Now what you need to do is set the effects search path and the texture search path. So head back to your reshade folder, like so. Just copy and paste the directories into your game, like so. Just like that. Head back to the home tab and press reload. Now you should see a bunch of the effects in reshade, like so. Once you have that, what you need to do is search display depth and enable that. You should see something like this. For present type, select depth map. And what we need to do now is click edit global preprocessor definitions. Click the plus and we need to enter some values. I have the values on screen now as well as in the description. You can just copy and paste them into reshade like so. Alright, so these are the values you should have. Just click reload and you should be able to see the depth map. Now 256,001 is the value you want if you have an NVIDIA card. You can play around with different values if you really want to, but generally this is what you're probably going to want. If you're on an AMD card, this may not work. You might have set this to 1 and click reload and then it may work. If that doesn't work as well, you can try set this to 1000 like so. And depending on what card you have, it may differ. So try playing around those 3 options. Alright, so once you have your depth set up, you can go ahead and disable display depth like so. And then you can go ahead and start playing around all the different settings you want. So in my case, I'm going to add SMAA. So I'm just going to enable that. As well as FXAA. Just like so. And then MXAO is going to enable that. Like so. Go ahead and play with the different settings to do whatever you want with them. It's going to increase that a bit, maybe do something like that. Yeah, you can get real in depth with this. Maybe a bit of sharpen. That's probably too much. Now, if you want lots of reflections all over the floor and stuff, what you need to do is search for SSR and enable that, as I've been asked about it quite a lot. And then you can just play around the different settings. There you have it. You have loads of reflections on the floor. I don't recommend going like super crazy because they look pretty bad. But that's really up to you if you really want that. Another thing you're probably going to want is depth of field. So there's a couple of options you can choose from. I like to use Marty McFly depth of fields simply because I find that the nicest looking, but you can choose whichever one you want. Now, if you do have this issue where the depth of field is blurring your view model, what you need to do is head back to your reshade folder, go into the shaders folder, scroll down until you find depth of field.fx, right click on it, and you need to open it with a program such as Notepad++, like I have installed here. Press Ctrl F and then search for Scene COC, and then until you find the one down here with scene depth dash scene focus. Set that to 0 like so. Just save it, close it, and then you'll need to reload reshade like so, and your view model shouldn't be blurred out anymore. And you'll need to play around the different the focus like so. You can play around the autofocus as well if you really want to. Yeah, there's a bunch of settings you can play around with. So yeah, go nuts with the effects, do whatever you want with it. Yeah, so that's pretty much it with reshade. You can obviously save it into a preset. By default, it saves it to a preset called reshade preset.ini. To create a new one, just press the plus and then name it something. You can duplicate the same preset as well, like that, and you create another preset. So yeah, hopefully you found the tutorial helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.